that's sometimes what people get wrong about detachment. So you just don't care about it. No, 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 no. I care. That's why I won't let my emotional fluctuations interfere with me solving the problem. Right. And
Mm.
peop, people in general have no idea the capacity of their own mind. Like you can 10x it. Right? It's an order of magnitude. If you throw out all the nonsense politics and football and all the social media and worrying about what other people think about you and what you think they think about you thinking about them, it just never ends. If you can actually get rid of that. So I'm not on social media, right? I follow politics enough that I can talk about it to people, but it's like it doesn't act. The problem is consumerism. It's not left wing, right wing. Like the right people are, now there's a election going on in the UK, and people are right that the Tories have ruined the housing market. But guess what? Labour is going to get in now and not fix it. Right? It's not going to get fixed because it's greed driven. The whole society is greed driven. The people who are upset that 10% of the country owns all of the country, if they were the 10%, they would act exactly the same, right? So we're living in a society where old blames young, young blames old, rich blames poor, poor blames rich, educated blames uneducated, uneducated blames educated, men blame women, women blame men. Whatever group you're not part of, it's their fault, right? The natives blame the immigrants. The immigrants think that the natives have stolen the wealth from the rest of the world. And all of those things are partially true. But it doesn't matter because the solution is the same, right? We need a higher state of consciousness. We need to realize, not just understand and kind of agree that consumerism will never make one person happy. Not in the history of the human race has a single person ever succeeded at becoming materially satisfied. And yet we all walk around, whether we want to admit it or not, thinking if I had that thing or if I achieved that, then everything, all my problems would go away. That is what I'm trying to teach people. And you don't have to go all the way. If you just go 10% of the way, your life will be 50% better. It's arbitrary numbers, right? But when you're really bad at something, a tiny bit of difference make a whole lot of difference. And then as you get really, really good at it, you'll have to put more and more efforts into getting it's
Yeah.
diminishing returns basically, right? So the amount of effort I put into it for tiny differences is not for most people that doesn't, right? That's not necessary at all. Just do something.
I don't know what it does, but it deeply resonates with me right now the way you talk about this. This because as you said, it feels so cluttered, and I can still remember this moment after my first 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat that I had this like I could look around, and my
Yeah.
thoughts were not cluttered.
Yeah.
I was
You can
calm.
see.
I was
You
still
can
I could
see.
see actually how
Yeah.
things are and
Yeah.
not how I project them to be. And I
Yeah.
think that was I can still remember that moment how that felt, right? It was crazy. And I didn't want to
Yeah.
talk to people again because there
No,
was
there's nothing
so much
yeah.
input. In the last day, they had this opportunity to connect with other people again, talk again, and to like not face the real world suddenly again after this 10-day meditation retreat. And I didn't want to. I just went to my room and stayed there because
Yeah.
it was so overwhelming, first of all. And second,
Mhm.
like I had this peace inside of me that I didn't want to give up again.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a term in the East called prajalpa.
Okay.
You want to avoid prajalpa. It's empty talk.
Hmm.
And it's basically what most people engage in 99% of the time. They're just talking to feel like they're belonging. It's not really about like the guys down at the pub who are second guessing the football coach's decisions as if they could ever coach a football team. It's not that they literally, quite literally think they would be better at it. It's just the topics don't really matter. They just like we all want to feel like we belong, and so a lot of the time we're talking with other people to feel like we belong, and we're trying to say something we think they will appreciate, so they will like us, right? So we're kind of imitating the service, but it's actually look at me. Like anyone who spent 30 seconds on LinkedIn will know what I mean, right? That it's just like the virtue signaling is insane and everyone's playing along. And so if you have like a 10-day successful Vipassana retreat, you don't need any of that. And it's suddenly the contrast becomes so stark.
Yeah.
I've had situations with like fasting and extreme uh like level of meditation where it's like 18 hours straight or something. Um, and and I've just started crying out of absolute bliss, just the beauty of everything without like singling anything out, just the beauty of being alive. These states are by their nature, they're beyond what can be really explained. You can describe it, but you can't explain it until you've experienced it. So
Yeah.
it's natural for people to be like, yeah, that sounds a little woo-woo, but it's real, man. And it's pretty glorious, right? And the thing is, once you've been there, everything else becomes easier. Like that bill that you're not sure about, that becomes a tiny, tiny thing. They're not going to come and kill you if you don't make that bill, right? It's just call them up, have a chat, figure out something, and move on with your life. And then maybe a little financial planning, right? That is as simple as it is. But the fear of not being approved, of not fitting in, of not that thing I was feeling as a child and that led me in all of these directions, that's what's holding us back. Why? False ego. The idea I'm the center of the universe, the more I can control, the happier I am. We're constantly confronted with situations that we can't control because guess what? We can't control any situation. We can only control ourselves. And through controlling ourselves, we can then impact our surroundings. But it's a relationship. It's not like I'm Mr. Bossman in the center
Hmm.
making all of these decisions. Like, so I work a lot with founders and CEOs on these types of topics, and man, they're as anxious as the homeless people, right? Because a lot of the time, there's this missing piece of the puzzle that no, look, the company actually more or less runs itself. Just like the universe runs itself. It's always been here. It's always functioned this way. It's just your decisions are a little bit more important than other people in this company. But look at them. They come to work every day. They do their job. And so you don't have to micromanage. You don't have to feel like you control everything. You can delegate and everything is easier than we think. But we don't want to get essentially we have a problem giving up this idea that I can control everything. At the end of the day, as psychopathic or delusional as it sounds, we want to be God, right? Constantly the center of attention and things just happening just because we want it. But we're not, and we don't have to be. It's actually more fun to be the servant.